I wouldn't add new vocabulary at the review. I don't know. I mean, my intuition is that it's more technical than that. Right? That how it's being used in this particular context has more to do with harmony than it has to do with humility. There's some times where the proper thing to be is not humble. Think of a warrior. Think of a guardian who's honor-seeking on the battlefield. You see what I'm saying? So I would just be careful. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I said it doesn't tell you how you should act. Opportunity does not tell you how you should act in any given situation. What it says is that those with the most refined souls will act appropriately, whatever the situation is. You see the importance of that distinction? Important distinctions here. Other ones, obviously, we talked about knowledge and understanding. Authority versus legitimacy. How did that pop up in this conversation in our book? Authority versus legitimacy. Once again, something we talk about several times. We talk about all this stuff several times.
There's a creon and antigone. You have to apply the two. Authority would be creon, and legitimacy would be antigone.
No, I mean, let's just stay with creon. Creon was legitimate, wasn't he?
Yes.
What made Creon legitimate?
He was basically the next in line, or he was the number one guy in the city.
Yeah.
He just taken over.
He didn't get his throne illegitimately. He legitimately was the person who was supposed to be sitting in the throne. So he had legitimacy. Did he have authority?
No.
Why didn't he have authority?
He did not have authority because he didn't. Something Haman emphasizes, the son, that he's not ruling. He's not reflecting the will of the people and the will of the gods in his rulings and in his legislative efforts. So makes it set his authority, and it makes his authority doesn't stand.
So in this case, as you were probably trying to say, is that so what we find out in this particular case is that it's Antigone who was operating basically on the sides of the gods who actually had authority, even though she didn't have legitimacy, and authority won out at the end. You see what I mean? I'm just asking that you folks, I mean, you can refer to Antigone. There's probably a couple other places where you can refer to, but be clear about this difference between legitimacy and authority. There's a way that could play even with Ajax, whether he actually legitimately deserved the honor of Achilles and was legitimately cheated out of that. Right? Invocation versus rationalization. What's happened there? How have we talked about invocation versus rationalization? Yeah, you.
My first thought might be Socrates in jail in the apology, maybe.
Well, let's just start. An invocation, what is that? Where's that coming to?
I'm not sure.
Does anybody invocation?
I see this kind of moving as the religious to secular dependence on the gods versus dependence on our knowledge and understanding.
So what's the invocation that I might do?
The invocation?
Yeah.
People used to rely on the muses and the word of poets.
The invocation of the muses.
Right.
That all the poets did. To get the gods to come in and inspire them and speak through them and all that kind of junk, right? And we talked about how this moved from Homer and Hesiod on down to Herodotus, where there's no invocation of the muses there. It's like, hey, I'm Herodotus, I went and did these studies, and you should listen to this based on my authority, not some appeal to divine, to a special relationship to divinity, right? Which is the theos to ontos, religious to secular movement. Right? So philosophy really is the representation here of the rationalization side. Obviously, it's us. We can figure it out on our own. And because of that, we can determine what's true and what's false and all that without this vain relationship to religion. As far as general topics, philosophy of vocation, that literally was a study question for the apology. Implied contract was a part of in the apology, right? Where he's like, I grew up here in Athens. It'd be bad for Athens if I left. So that's the passage that I'm thinking about when I talk about an implied contract here. Role of the poets in Greek society, I mean, come on, we talked about that over and over again. We did talk about myth of ver today, but we just talked about myth of ver last time. I mean, so clearly that's just, Plato, there's tons of critiques of poetry in the poets. This kind of question is clearly going to be tied to that. And also poetry as a educational system that Plato's trying to displace with his Paideia system. Okay? Leadership and learning, I asked the question at the end of our conversation, in fact, about the allegory of the cave, like how does a curriculum prepare you for leadership? We've got Plato's version of it. What is yours do? What is it about a curriculum that can prepare you for leadership, right? So it's a more open-ended question. And of course, the operational definition of ethics, which you all have. It should be able to explain what its different components are. Ontos, theos, episteme, ethos. You guys should be able to explain that pretty easily. Okay. Now, and I'll end just as saying, you'll notice that I put a theme on here at the very top of the first page. That really, at the end of the day, this whole first half was about ethics as a problem of knowledge. So we spent all this time learning about education and all this stuff because it's like, what I hate is people rushing into ethics and there's no conversation about how do you know. And for Plato, the how do you know question is the question. Alrighty, have a good break. Sorry that you got to come right back and get on my exam. It's going to have to happen. And once again, if there's any other issues out there hanging, please email me today. This time, you can go as long as you want. Be as specific as you need to be. Yeah. You know, that's why I say it. It's just like, it's not that there aren't connections, there are. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I just want to make sure that we're clear here. What do you mean? Go back and look. That's a whole lecture that we've had 3 times. That's the justices.